The Cleveland Browns, in my opinion, are a team that is really exciting, really going to be fun to watch, but all of the pressure is on their quarterback, Deshaun Watson. He got a $230 million contract, and he's got to play at a high level. The big question hanging in the air is, what's Deshaun Watson going to look like? Because if he plays at a high level, and the Browns are really good, it's going to completely shake up the entire AFC. It's going to look like a totally different landscape. If the Browns are really good and a dominant force like I think they can be, it changes everything. Now, I got to say this. I'm not a fan of Deshaun Watson. The legal battles, being accused of a ton of sexual misconduct. And you got to separate the artist from the art, I guess. I'm not really sure what to do with this, but I acknowledge it. We'll talk about it. But the reality is, he didn't play at all in 2021, was dealing with the off-the-field stuff. He was suspended for most of last year. Deshaun Watson only played in 6 games last year, was not able to be part of the team for the first 11 games of the year, so he was way behind when he got there and was kind of playing catch-up. But the reality we have to acknowledge is this. Last time we saw Deshaun Watson play a full football season, he was incredible. He was amazing. Deshaun Watson, at his best, is an incredible all-pro level quarterback, and the Browns are absolutely loaded with a ton of talent. They made a lot of moves this offseason. They added defensive tackle Dalvin Tomlinson. They added safety Juan Thornhill. They added 2 pass rushers, including trading for Zadarius Smith, a guy who had a good year last year. They are incredibly deep at defensive end. You pair the new guys they got with a terrifying force of nature, defensive end Myles Garrett. I mean, it's maybe the best pass rush in the NFL. I would argue it's probably more likely to be San Francisco or Dallas, but hey, Cleveland belongs in that conversation when it comes to who's got the best pass rush in the NFL. They brought in a receiver, Elijah Mitchell from the Jets, who didn't get along well with the coaches there, probably wasn't a good cultural fit. Now he's in Cleveland, probably much happier. And the Browns got a new defensive coordinator. They brought in Jim Schwartz, who was with Philly when they won a Super Bowl in 2017. To me, this is a team with a lot of reasons to win in Cleveland. Now, the head coach, Kevin Stefanski, has a lot to prove. He won a playoff game in his first year in Cleveland. That was amazing. I was there for the ride. I had so much fun. However, since the playoff victory, Kevin Stefanski's had 2 losing years in a row. And now I'm tired of the excuses. You got a new quarterback. You've got a good running back, Nick Chubb. You've got a great offensive line, probably the best offensive line in football. That's what's crazy about this Browns team, by the way. On both sides of the football, offense and defense, they are dominant on the line. They're dominant up front. You've got Amari Cooper at receiver, also Elijah Mitchell, Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Njoku at tight end. Got a great defense with great players at every level, secondary, linebacker, and pass rush. And similar to Denver, for years I've been saying about the Denver Broncos that they are loaded with talent, and I think if they can turn the talent into something good, they could win a lot of games. I'm getting kind of burned out on that. I've been saying this for years about Cleveland and about Denver, and I'm ready for time to put up or shut up. The pressure's on Kevin Stefanski. They have to win. Another player they got back, it's not an addition, but they got Anthony Walker, their linebacker, back from injury. He played only 3 games last year, got hurt. I think Cleveland's got a really good secondary. Again, the pass rush is incredible. Across the board, the Browns are an amazing football team. It's up to their coaching staff to put them in a position to succeed. I like Jim Schwartz. Pressure's on Kevin Stefanski. But it might be uncomfortable to say this. People may not like to hear this. I think it's something that the Browns have not been a team, when I look around the world, are not getting a lot of praise as maybe one of the better teams in football. And I think because of Deshaun Watson, people go, I don't want to say anything good about the Browns. But man, I think they could win a lot. And, they're a great team that because they only won 7 games last year, the Browns have a fairly light schedule. They're going to play Arizona, Indy, Houston, the Rams, Chicago. Literally 5 of the 6 bad teams I pointed out during episode 555. The Browns' schedule is loaded with bad teams, other than their division, of course. And when you look at this roster, on paper, it's hard to see a weakness. If there is a problem with this Browns football team, you could argue it's that they don't have a lot of depth at running back, maybe. But then I would counter with saying, well, Cleveland has arguably the best offensive line in football. So even if Nick Chubb, the running back, gets hurt, the great offensive line is still going to create good running lanes for whatever running back is there, whether that's their backup Jerome Ford or literally anybody they sign off the street, because there's a lot of veteran good running backs available. Now, I went through my process. I went through and I did all the research. I got to know the Browns. I did my process of making all my picks, and I go through every game, 272 games. The result was this. I have the Cleveland Browns going 13-4 and winning the AFC North. 13-4. To me, that would be a dramatic improvement. That's 6 more wins than they had last year. And I think there's a lot of skepticism of Cleveland, again, because it's the Browns and because it's Deshaun Watson, and nobody wants to say anything good about Deshaun Watson. But even though they play in the toughest division in football, in my opinion, they got a lot of games against bad teams, so it's a loaded roster with an easier schedule. That is why I have the Cleveland Browns going 13-4 this fall. Now, this prediction relies all on Deshaun Watson playing at a high level. But I encourage you, if you don't believe Deshaun Watson can play really good football, go watch the film from the 2020 season, the last time he played a full year, his final year in Houston. He played on a terrible football team. His coach, Bill O'Brien, got fired in October 5th. I don't know why that's ingrained in my memory, but it is. And still, despite all of the garbage around him, Deshaun Watson played really well at a really high level. If he plays that way he did his last year in Houston, 2020, if he plays that way in Cleveland this fall on a loaded Cleveland Browns roster, it could impact the entire AFC. That is why I have the Browns going 13-4. I guess as uncomfortable as I am saying it, I think Deshaun Watson is going to be really good, and so are the Browns. What do you make of that? I think that's going to be, it's going to ruffle some feathers. People are not going to like that. I don't even love it. I mean, to me, emotionally, after the Browns won a playoff game, any little hope or joy I had in watching them kind of went away. I was like, I was so invested. They won a playoff game, and then emotionally I checked out. I'm like, okay, great. They reached the goal. They accomplished it. That's fine. But look, I trust my process. Their roster is incredible, and if Deshaun Watson plays the way I know he can play, that's a Browns football team that can do some damage in the AFC.